You are hurting your clients if you continue to do this. Hey, Dr. Ken Kaufman here, and welcome inside the training room. Now, I wanted to take a quick minute to share with you my perspective on a controversial subject that generates a lot of questions with my patients. For nearly 40 years, ice packs have been the go-to first aid tool on athletic fields and training rooms around the world. It has become the unquestioned first step in the treatment of soft tissue sports injuries, and it's easy, cheap, and it's readily available. In fact, over my career, I've regularly prescribed ice for low back pain patients, other sports injuries, and just overused muscles. But all that changed in 2015 when I was with the Baltimore Orioles at their spring training facility right here in Sarasota, Florida. Now, at a game in Boston, their second baseman, Jonathan Scope, suffered an injury the night before. The team flew him down to Sarasota for treatment and rehab, and it turned out that he had partially torn his PCL and he sprained his MCL in his right knee. I was there to treat a couple of other players, and I listened while their head athletic trainer, Richie Bancels, went over Jonathan's MRI results. As he sat there, his knee was obviously swollen, and I could tell he was in some discomfort. After several minutes, I took the assistant athletic trainer, Brian Ebel, aside, and I asked him, why doesn't he have ice on his knee? It was then that Brian said something that shocked me. He said, "Oh, we don't ice injuries anymore." And I'm like, wait, what? For me, it was a statement that started the meltdown. Now, I had all the questions that everyone asks. What about the inflammation? And what about the swelling? The truth is, when you go over the research or lack of research on icing injuries, it actually becomes obvious that you shouldn't ice an injury. In fact, reaching for an ice pack following any injury actually does more harm than it does good. Of course, this challenged a long-held belief that I had. I personally soaked my legs in ice baths following long marathon training runs on a regular basis. As I said, I recommended ice to my patients nearly every day, and I would have my kids ice their sore knees and their twisted ankles. So what is it about icing injuries that is so wrong? I mean, everyone has used ice at some point in their lives. I mean, who hasn't put an ice pack or a bag of frozen peas on a twisted ankle growing up? And then there's that acronym that everyone seems to know. Remember, RICE, which stands for rest, ice, compression, and elevation. I mean, every trainer, health professional, and even soccer moms know that acronym. It was actually Dr. Gabe Merkin who first coined that phrase, or that acronym, in 1978 in his book literally called The Sports Medicine Book. But over time, Dr. Merkin understood that he just came up with a catchy phrase to describe what, at the time, everyone considered to be the holy grail in dealing with injuries. But he gradually modified his position, and in 2014, he changed his tune, stating, quote, "Coaches have used my RICE guideline for decades, but now it appears that both ice and complete rest may delay healing instead of helping." Okay, so now what? What created this shift? How could such a well-known and commonly used modality be so wrong? Now, I want you to know this is the first of a 4-part series. Be on the lookout for the second part of the series, where I'm going to unravel the key in understanding the reason why you should never ice an injury, and how icing actually delays the first critical step in the healing and repair process of damaged tissues. Please like, comment, and share this post in this first part. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'll see you again soon.